A Lakota chief's dog found a woman fading in the sand until he recognized his future wife. Tall Eagle walked slowly across the golden plains, the wind brushing against his face like a gentle whisper. The sun was high in the sky, casting long shadows of the rolling dunes and waving grasses. His loyal dog, Shadow, ran ahead, sniffing the air and occasionally glancing back to make sure Tall Eagle was following. Shadow had been with him since he was a boy, and the chief trusted his instincts more than anyone else's. It had been a quiet morning, and the plains seemed peaceful. But the wind carried a strange smell, something different from the usual scent of grass and earth. Shadow's ears perked up, and he stopped in his tracks, growling softly. Tall Eagle looked at his dog, frowning. "What is it, Shadow?" he asked. Shadow's tail stiffened, and he began tugging toward a distant dune. Tall Eagle followed, his bare feet sinking slightly into the warm sand. The plains stretched endlessly, but Shadow seemed to know exactly where to go. As they neared the dune, Tall Eagle noticed something strange. A small figure lay half buried in the sand. The figure moved slightly, and Tall Eagle realized it was a woman, her skin pale in the bright sunlight. She was fading in the heat, her breathing shallow. Shadow barked sharply and ran toward her, circling her as if protecting her from something unseen. Tall Eagle quickened his pace, his heart pounding. When he reached her, he knelt down carefully, brushing the sand from her face. Her eyes fluttered open. They were dark and deep, filled with fear and confusion. Tall Eagle felt a strange pull in his chest, a feeling he had never experienced before. There was something familiar about her, though he could not yet place it. "You are safe now," he said gently.
Do not fear. My dog and I will protect you.
The woman tried to speak, but her voice was weak. She coughed, and her lips trembled. Tall Eagle realized she had been out in the sun for too long. He carefully lifted her into his arms, feeling her small frame trembling. Shadow followed closely, growling at the wind as if warning of danger. Tall Eagle carried her across the plains toward his village. The journey was long, but he did not tire. He could feel Shadow's presence beside him, steady and protective. When they reached the village, the people gathered, their eyes wide with curiosity and concern. "What happened?" asked one hawk, a young warrior from the tribe. Tall Eagle placed the woman gently on a soft blanket. "She was found in the dunes fading in the sand," he explained. "We must care for her until she regains her strength." The elders nodded, and the women of the village quickly brought water and food. The woman drank slowly, her hands trembling as she held the cup. Tall Eagle watched her closely, noticing the careful movements of her fingers and the way she looked at everything with quiet curiosity. As she rested, Tall Eagle began to think. There was something about her that seemed familiar. The way she moved, the shape of her face, the way she looked at the sun, it all stirred memories he could not name. He had seen her before. But where? He shook his head. It did not matter now. What mattered was that she was alive. Shadow lay beside her, his head resting gently on the blanket. The dog's eyes were calm yet alert, as if he knew this woman was important. Tall Eagle watched the two of them, a feeling of destiny settling over him. He had always believed in the guidance of the spirits, and now he felt their presence more strongly than ever. Over the next few days, the woman regained her strength. She spoke little, and when she did, her voice was soft and careful. She told them that she had been fleeing from a group of men who had attacked her village. They had chased her across the plains, and she had run until she could run no more. Tall Eagle listened with growing admiration. She was brave, even in her weakness. He could see the fire in her eyes, the determination to survive. Shadow, too, seemed to sense this courage. The dog would not leave her side, following her every step and growling at anything that came too close. The chief began to spend more time with her, learning her name, Starfeather, and listening to her story. He discovered that she had lost her family in the attack, and that she had been alone for many days before Shadow found her. Tall Eagle felt a deep sadness for her, but also a growing respect. She was strong even when the world had tried to break her. At night, the village gathered around the fire. Tall Eagle sat near Starfeather, watching the flames dance in her eyes. Shadow lay between them, his ears twitching at every sound of the night. The wind whispered across the plains, carrying the voices of the spirits. Tall Eagle felt a strange peace, as if the world had shifted slightly to bring her to him. In his dreams, Tall Eagle saw visions of Starfeather. She was running across the plains, her hair flowing behind her like a river of night. The sun shone on her face, and she looked directly at him. In the dreams, she was not a stranger but someone he had always known, someone meant to be by his side. He woke each morning with a sense of awe and wonder, unsure if the visions were real or simply his heart speaking. Day by day, Starfeather grew stronger. She helped the women of the village gather food and water, learning the ways of the tribe. She listened carefully to the elders, absorbing their wisdom and stories. Tall Eagle watched her, feeling a connection that grew deeper with each passing day. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low in the sky, Tall Eagle and Starfeather walked along the edge of the village. Shadow ran ahead, chasing a rabbit through the tall grass. The chief looked at her and saw not just a survivor, but a woman full of life and courage. "You are safe now," he said softly. "Here you will never be alone again." Starfeather looked up at him, her eyes shining. She nodded, a small smile touching her lips. Tall Eagle felt a warmth in his chest, a feeling he had never known. It was as if the spirits themselves had guided Shadow to her, and through her to him. As they walked back to the village, Tall Eagle realized that life on the plains was full of surprises. Some were dangerous, like the men who had chased Starfeather. Others were gifts, like the chance to find her and care for her. He did not yet know what the future held, but he felt certain of one thing. Starfeather was meant to be part of his life, and he would protect her with all his strength. The wind whispered through the grasses, carrying the scent of the earth and the promise of the coming days. Tall Eagle knew that the plains held many secrets, and that the spirits watched over those who listened. Shadow barked, running back to the chief, and Starfeather laughed, a sound that blended with the rustling grass and the whispering wind. And in that moment, Tall Eagle understood something profound. The plains had brought them together, guided by fate and the unseen hand of the spirits. Their story had only just begun, but already it was filled with courage, hope, and the quiet magic of the land they called home. The days after Starfeather's rescue passed quietly at first, but the calm of the plains never lasts long. Tall Eagle noticed how she moved carefully through the village, her eyes taking in every detail, every gesture of the people around her. She helped the women prepare meals, carried water from the river, and listened with interest to the elders' stories. Yet, despite her careful behavior, there was an air of mystery about her. Tall Eagle could not help but watch her. There was something in the way she held herself, a quiet strength that had survived the harsh journey across the dunes. He remembered the fear in her eyes when he first found her, and he marveled at how it had been replaced by determination. Shadow, as always, stayed close, sometimes nudging her hand as if to remind her that she was not alone. One evening, as the sun began to sink behind the distant hills, casting long orange shadows across the plains, Tall Eagle approached Starfeather while she gathered herbs near the river. The light caught her hair, turning it to a golden brown in the fading sunlight. "You move carefully," he said, his voice calm but curious. "You watch everything, but you speak little." Starfeather looked up at him, her dark eyes thoughtful. "I have seen much in my life," she said softly. "It is wise to watch and to learn before speaking. The world can be cruel, and words can be dangerous." Tall Eagle nodded, understanding her meaning. He had seen cruelty too, fights between rival tribes, storms that destroyed their homes, and the sudden losses that marked the lives of his people. But he also knew courage when he saw it, and Starfeather carried courage in every small gesture. Over the next few days, Tall Eagle spent more time near her, helping with chores, guiding her as she learned the ways of the tribe, and sharing stories of his childhood. He spoke of the plains, of the rivers and the winds, and of the spirits that watched over them all. Starfeather listened, sometimes asking questions, sometimes smiling quietly at his tales. Shadow seemed to notice the growing connection between them. The dog often stayed between the two, as if guarding the bond that was forming. Tall Eagle realized that Shadow had an understanding beyond human eyes, sensing what words could not explain. Then came the day when Starfeather finally began to share her story. Tall Eagle had been patient, knowing that such tales could not be forced. She told him of her village far to the west, where she had lived with her family. She spoke of the men who had attacked, of the fire and smoke, and of the long run across the dunes that had left her nearly lifeless in the sun. Tall Eagle listened silently, his jaw tight with anger and sadness. The plains could be beautiful, but they were also full of danger. He felt a deep urge to protect her, to ensure that nothing like that ever happened again. "You survived because you are strong," he said finally. "Many would have fallen in your place. But you kept moving, even when your body wanted to stop. That is courage." Starfeather looked down, her fingers brushing the herbs she held. "I did not survive alone," she said softly. "Something guided me. Something told me to keep going. And I think it led me to you." Tall Eagle's heart skipped a beat. He remembered the first moment he had seen her in the sand, half fading under the sun. Even then, he had felt a strange pull, a sense that destiny had brought them together. Now, hearing her speak of guidance, he realized that the spirits themselves had been at work. Days turned into weeks, and life in the village grew routine. Starfeather learned quickly, adapting to the rhythms of the tribe. She laughed sometimes, a sound that mingled with the wind and the whispering grasses. Tall Eagle watched her carefully, feeling a mixture of admiration and wonder. One morning, Shadow began acting strangely. He barked and ran ahead of them, circling near the edge of the dunes. Tall Eagle followed, curious and cautious. There, near a ridge of sand, Shadow stopped and sniffed the ground. His ears perked, and he growled softly. Tall Eagle knelt beside the dog and looked down. There, partially buried in the sand, were footprints. Fresh, human footprints. The prints led toward the horizon, away from the village. His heart tightened. Danger was near, and Shadow had sensed it before he had. "We must be careful," Tall Eagle said, rising to his full height. "Someone is out there."
Shadow has found them. Starfeather joined him, her eyes narrowing.
"Do you think it is the same men?" she asked quietly. Tall Eagle did not answer. He could only feel the tension in the wind, the whisper of the grasses, and the warning in Shadow's growl. Together they moved cautiously, following the tracks just far enough to see who or what was approaching. The figure appeared at the ridge, a lone man traveling across the dunes. He was weary, carrying a bundle on his back, but he did not seem dangerous. Tall Eagle watched, unsure what to do. Starfeather stepped forward, recognition flashing in her eyes. "That is my brother," she whispered. "He escaped the attack." "He must be trying to find me." Tall Eagle's heart softened. The plains were harsh, but they could also bring reunion and hope. He nodded to Starfeather, and together they approached the man. Shadow ran ahead, wagging his tail as if welcoming the new arrival. The brother's eyes widened as he saw Starfeather. You are alive," he exclaimed, tears welling in his eyes. "I thought I had lost you forever." Starfeather ran to him, and they embraced. Tall Eagle watched, a quiet smile on his face. Shadow barked joyfully, circling around them. The bond between the siblings was strong, and it reminded him of the importance of family, loyalty, and love. That night, by the fire, Starfeather told more of her story. Her brother had been separated during the attack, wandering the plains alone, searching for her. She had feared for him as much as for herself. Now, reunited, they shared quiet moments of relief and gratitude. Tall Eagle listened, feeling a new understanding. The woman he had found in the sand was not just a survivor. She was someone whose spirit had endured hardship, who had survived not only danger but separation, and whose heart remained strong. Shadow lay at his feet, calm now, as if the reunion had lifted some unseen weight. Tall Eagle reached down to scratch behind the dog's ears, grateful for the loyal companion who had guided them all to safety. The wind whispered across the plains that night, carrying the scent of herbs and fire and the promise of new beginnings. Tall Eagle knew that the path ahead would still have challenges. The plains were full of danger, and the spirits could test even the strongest of hearts. But for now, there was peace. For Starfeather, her brother, Tall Eagle, and Shadow, the village had become a place of safety, of healing, and of hope. And though their story was only beginning, the chief felt a sense of destiny in the air, a feeling that the spirits had plans far greater than any of them could imagine. As the fire flickered, Tall Eagle looked at Starfeather, her eyes reflecting the flames. He realized that the bond between them was growing, subtle but undeniable. It was a bond born of survival, of trust, and of shared experience. And he knew deep in his heart that the plains had not just brought her to him, they had brought them together for a purpose. The night stretched on, full of whispers and quiet sounds of the sleeping village. Shadow curled beside Starfeather, keeping her safe, while Tall Eagle stood watch, thinking of the days to come. He knew that challenges awaited, but he also knew that together they could face anything. For the first time in a long while, he allowed himself to hope. The plains had tested them, but they had survived. And perhaps the greatest adventure was still ahead, waiting to unfold under the endless sky. The morning sun rose over the plains, painting the grasses gold and casting long shadows across the village. Tall Eagle stood at the edge of the camp, his eyes scanning the horizon. Shadow, his loyal dog, sat at his feet, ears perked and alert. Though the days had been calm, the chief could feel tension in the air, like the plains themselves were holding their breath. He did not know why, but something was coming. Shadow growled low in his throat, a warning that did not need words. Tall Eagle knelt, placing his hand on the dog's head. "I feel it too, Shadow," he said quietly. Something approaches. The village had returned to its routines. Starfeather and her brother were helping the women gather food and water. The children played near the fire, laughing and running through the tall grass. Yet, even in the laughter, there was a sense of watchfulness. The plains were beautiful, but they could be cruel, and the chief knew that danger could arrive at any moment. By mid-morning, the warning became clear. Smoke appeared on the horizon, curling up from the dunes like dark fingers. Tall Eagle's heart tightened. Marauders, the same men who had attacked Starfeather's village, were approaching. They had tracked her across the plains, relentless in their pursuit. Tall Eagle called the warriors together. "Prepare yourselves," he said. "They come for her, but they will not take her. We will protect our people and our land." The warriors nodded, grabbing bows and spears, readying themselves for the battle ahead. Shadow ran among them, barking and growling, rallying the others as if he understood the danger better than any human could. Tall Eagle placed a hand on Starfeather's shoulder. "You must stay safe," he said. "Do not leave the village. Trust me and trust Shadow. We will face them together." Starfeather's dark eyes met his. "I will do what I can," she said. "But I will not hide. I will stand with you." Tall Eagle smiled softly, admiring her courage. "Then we will fight as one." As the marauders drew closer, the warriors took positions along the dunes and hills. Tall Eagle climbed a ridge, his gaze sweeping the horizon. Shadow sat at his side, growling low, sensing every movement of the approaching enemy. The wind shifted, carrying the scent of dust, sweat, and danger. The first attack came suddenly. A group of men emerged from the dunes, their weapons raised, shouting in anger. Tall Eagle's warriors met them, arrows flying and spears thrusting, the clash of battle echoing across the plains. Tall Eagle moved like the wind, fast and precise. He dodged a swinging club, countering with a swift strike that sent the attacker to the sand. Shadow leapt beside him, teeth bared, protecting the chief from any who came too close. The dog moved with skill and instinct, guiding Tall Eagle and warning him of hidden dangers. Starfeather, from the safety of the village, watched the battle unfold. Her heart pounded, but she remembered the lessons the chief had taught her. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the strength to act despite it. She could see Tall Eagle moving among the warriors, fearless and focused, and she felt pride in his skill and leadership. The marauders were strong, but the warriors of the village were clever and united. Tall Eagle had prepared traps along the dunes, hidden pits and camouflaged obstacles that slowed the enemy's advance. He signaled to his warriors, guiding them with sharp gestures and a calm voice, his presence steadying everyone around him. The battle raged for hours, the sun climbing higher and the air thick with dust and shouts. Tall Eagle and his warriors fought with precision, but even the bravest men and women could grow weary. Shadow never left the chief's side, biting and growling at any who came too close. At one point, a marauder broke through the line, running straight toward Starfeather's brother. Shadow lunged, knocking the man to the ground and giving the brother time to escape. Tall Eagle saw the movement and ran, intercepting the remaining attacker with a swift and decisive strike. The battle tested every ounce of courage and skill in the village. Yet, through the chaos, a sense of unity prevailed. Tall Eagle's calm leadership inspired the warriors. Starfeather's bravery in aiding those in danger, guiding children, and helping the injured reminded everyone of the strength that comes from protecting one's people. As the sun reached its peak, the tide of the battle began to turn. The marauders, exhausted and outnumbered, started to retreat. Tall Eagle did not chase them immediately. He knew the plains could be treacherous, and the enemy might attempt an ambush. Instead, he signaled for his warriors to hold the line, their eyes sharp and ready. Finally, the marauders fled into the distance, disappearing into the dunes that had carried them across the plains. The village erupted in relief, cheering and embracing one another. Tall Eagle stood on the ridge, Shadow at his side, surveying the aftermath. Dust and sweat coated his face, but a sense of calm pride filled him. Starfeather ran to him, her face flushed with exertion and excitement. She threw her arms around him.
You were incredible, she said. And Shadow,
He saved us all. Tall Eagle smiled, ruffling the dog's ears. Shadow barked happily, as if he understood the praise. You were brave too, he said to Starfeather. You stayed calm, you helped others, and you did not give in to fear. They walked back toward the village together, Shadow running ahead. The sun had climbed high, but the wind had shifted, carrying the scent of earth and fire and the quiet energy of the plains. Tall Eagle felt a deep sense of connection to his people, to Starfeather, and to the land they called home. That evening, around the fire, the village celebrated their victory. Elders spoke of courage and unity, of the spirits who watched over them and guided them in times of danger. Tall Eagle sat near Starfeather, his hand brushing hers as they shared quiet moments amidst the celebration. Shadow lay at their feet, ears twitching at the sounds of laughter and song. Tall Eagle reached down, stroking the dog's fur, feeling gratitude for the companion who had been more than a protector. He had been a guide, a friend, and a witness to destiny. As the fire crackled and the night stretched across the plains, Tall Eagle felt a presence he could not see but could sense deeply. The spirits had watched over them, guiding their steps, giving them strength, and reminding them that courage and love were intertwined. Starfeather leaned against him, her hand finding his. He felt the warmth of her touch, a connection that went beyond words. They had faced danger together, survived, and grown stronger because of it. The plains had tested them, but they had endured. Tall Eagle looked up at the stars, seeing the patterns of the spirits above. He whispered a quiet prayer of thanks, not just for victory, but for the life that had been saved, for the bond that had grown, and for the days yet to come. Shadow barked softly in response, as if agreeing with the chief's silent words. Though the battle was over, Tall Eagle knew the plains would always hold challenges. But he also knew that with courage, wisdom, and the strength of those he loved, they could face whatever came next, and in that knowledge, he felt peace. A rare, powerful peace that came from surviving the storm together. The night was alive with the whispers of the grass, the songs of the wind, and the soft breathing of the village in rest. Tall Eagle held Starfeather's hand a little tighter, feeling the bond between them strengthen. Shadow lay curled at their feet, ever vigilant, and for the first time, Tall Eagle allowed himself to think beyond the battle, beyond the dangers of the plains. He allowed himself to imagine a future where courage, love, and destiny intertwined, and where the spirits watched over them all, guiding their hearts and steps. The plains had tested them, and they had survived. But their journey was far from over. The path ahead would have trials and joys, dangers and discoveries, and together, Tall, Eagle, Starfeather, and Shadow would walk it, their hearts united, their spirits strong, and their courage unwavering. The sun rose slowly over the plains, spilling golden light across the village. Birds sang in the tall grass, and the wind carried the gentle scent of earth and herbs. The village was calm now, the threat of the marauders long gone. Tall Eagle stood at the edge of the camp, Shadow at his feet, scanning the horizon as he always did. But today, the chief's heart felt lighter. Starfeather was nearby, helping the women of the village gather food for the coming days. Her dark hair glinted in the sunlight, and her movements were steady and confident, a reflection of the courage she had shown in the past battles. Tall Eagle watched her, feeling a sense of awe he could not fully put into words. She was more than brave. She was wise, compassionate, and strong, and he felt that the spirits themselves had placed her in his life. Shadow barked softly, tugging at Tall Eagle's hand. The dog had always been loyal, but today there was something different in his behavior, a sense of anticipation, as if even Shadow understood that a special moment was near. Shadow senses something, Tall Eagle said quietly. Perhaps the spirits wish to show us a path. Starfeather looked up at him, her eyes curious. A path? She asked. Tall Eagle smiled softly. Yes, a path forward, one that we choose together. The plains have tested us, guided us, and protected us. Now, it is time to follow the journey the spirits have laid before us. The day passed quietly, yet with a sense of expectation. Villagers moved about their chores, but everyone felt the calm that comes after danger. Shadows stretched across the plains as the sun began to set, painting the horizon with shades of orange and pink. Tall Eagle approached Starfeather, who had finished her work for the day and was resting by the fire. Shadow curled at their feet, his eyes bright and alert. I have watched you, Tall Eagle said, his voice soft but steady. You have shown courage, wisdom, and kindness. You have survived the plains and helped others survive as well. You have earned a place here, not just in our village, but in my life. Starfeather's eyes widened slightly, a faint blush coloring her cheeks. She reached for his hand and their fingers intertwined naturally. Shadow wagged his tail, as if giving his silent approval. You speak of the future, she said quietly. But the plains are uncertain. How can we be sure? Tall Eagle looked at her, his eyes reflecting the fading light. The future is never certain, he said, but we can choose to face it together. We can be strong together, and we can honor the spirits who brought us here. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the elders of the village gathered. They had watched the events of the past days, the rescue, the survival, the courage shown by both Tall Eagle and Starfeather. Now they prepared to honor the bond that had formed between them. Tall Eagle knelt before the elders, and Starfeather followed. The fire crackled, sending sparks into the twilight sky. The eldest among them, Whitehawk, spoke first. Tall Eagle, he said, his voice deep and steady, you have led your people with courage and wisdom. You have protected those in need, and you have honored the spirits of the plains. Your heart is strong, and your spirit is true. Tall Eagle bowed his head in respect. I will continue to serve my people and honor the spirits, he said. Whitehawk turned to Starfeather. And you, Starfeather, you have survived great danger and shown bravery beyond your years. You have healed, helped, and guided others. Your heart is pure and your spirit is unbroken. Starfeather nodded, her eyes shining. I will continue to walk with the people, and I will honor the spirits who guided me here, she said. Whitehawk raised his hands, calling on the spirits of the plains to witness the bond between them. May the winds carry your courage. May the sun warm your hearts, and may the stars guide your journey together. Tall eagle and star feather, may your spirits be united as one. The villagers joined in the ceremony, offering songs and prayers. Children danced in the firelight, women sang softly, and the warriors stood with respect and admiration. Shadow barked once, circling around the two before settling back at their feet, his eyes shining in the firelight. Tall Eagle looked at Starfeather, feeling a deep connection that went beyond words. We are together now, he said softly, not just for today, but for all the days to come. The plains brought us here, and the spirits have guided us. Together, we will walk the path ahead. Starfeather smiled, leaning against him. Together, she agreed. Days turned into weeks, and life in the village continued. But now, everything had changed. Tall Eagle and Starfeather moved together, side by side, guiding the village through daily tasks, ceremonies, and lessons from the elders. Shadow remained ever vigilant, his loyalty and instincts a constant reminder of the bond that had brought them all together. The villagers respected their leadership and courage, and the bond between the chief and his future wife became an example of unity and harmony. Their relationship was not built on haste or convenience, but on shared experiences, trust, and the understanding that the plains tested all who lived upon them. One morning, Tall Eagle and Starfeather walked along the edge of the village, the plains stretching endlessly before them. Shadow ran ahead, chasing a rabbit through the tall grass. Tall Eagle looked at Starfeather, noticing how the sunlight turned her hair golden and how her eyes reflected the beauty of the land. You know, he said softly, the plains are vast and sometimes dangerous, but they have a way of showing us what is important. They brought you to me, Starfeather, and I will spend my life honoring that gift. Starfeather reached for his hand, holding it firmly. And I will walk beside you, she said. Through danger and peace, through sun and storm, I will be with you. The plains taught me courage, but you showed me the strength of love. Tall Eagle felt a warmth spread through his chest, a sense of destiny fulfilled. The trials they had faced, the marauders, the endless dunes, the uncertainty, had led them to this moment. They had survived together, grown stronger together, and now they were united not just by circumstances, but by choice and spirit. Shadow barked, running back to them, his tail wagging happily. The dog had been with them through every challenge, a loyal companion who had guided and protected them. Tall Eagle knelt to scratch behind Shadow's ears. You brought us together, old friend, he said softly. Shadow nuzzled his hand in response, as if acknowledging the bond he had helped create. That night, under the clear sky filled with stars, the village gathered for a celebration. Fires burned bright, and the sound of drums echoed across the plains. The people danced, sang, and gave thanks for the safety, unity, and love that had grown among them. Tall Eagle and Starfeather sat together, hands entwined, watching the flames. They spoke quietly, sharing dreams and hopes for the future. Though the plains could be harsh, they knew that together they could face whatever came. Their courage, their spirits, and their love would guide them. The wind whispered through the grasses, carrying the promise of new beginnings. The moon rose slowly, casting a silver glow over the village and the endless plains beyond. Tall Eagle looked at Starfeather, feeling the depth of their connection. It was not just a bond of survival, but a bond of destiny, guided by the spirits who had watched over them from the beginning. In the quiet moments of the night, Tall Eagle reflected on the journey they had shared. From the day Shadow had found Starfeather in the dunes, to the battles fought, to the reunions and the healing, every step had led them here. The plains had tested them, and the spirits had guided them. And now their hearts were united, ready to face whatever the future held. As the stars shone above, Tall Eagle whispered a prayer of gratitude. He gave thanks for the land, for the people, for Shadow, and most of all, for Starfeather. She had brought courage, wisdom, and love into his life, and he vowed to honor her and the spirits who had guided them. Starfeather leaned against him, her head resting on his shoulder. We are home, she said softly. Yes, Tall Eagle replied, feeling the truth in her words. We are home, and together we will walk the path the spirits have laid for us. And so, under the endless sky of the plains, with the firelight flickering and shadow curled at their feet, Tall Eagle and Starfeather began the next chapter of their lives. Their journey had been tested by danger, strengthened by courage, and guided by the spirits. And as they looked toward the horizon, they knew that no matter what came, they would face it together, united by love, destiny, and the bonds of the plains.